So I'm looking at a YouTube subscriber's data for a 2008 Pontiac G6 with a 2.4. Said the vehicle won't go over 13 miles an hour. It's very, very lazy. They sent me some scan data, and we're going to have a look at some of these recordings. He's also done some lab scope recordings of in-cylinder pressure waveforms, but I'm going to focus on the scan data first of all. I've just started to look through some of this. I see a couple of anomalies. Okay, so here's a data recording that was taken of engine data, and when I look at this data recording here, it shows the accelerator pedal is going to 99%, which is what the driver is doing by stepping on the gas pedal, yet the desired throttle position is maxed at 43%. One time it peaked at 43, but most of the time for this entire recording, I'm going to get rid of the sweep here, it didn't go over 30%. So it's acting like something is preventing it from accelerating. I know some of these vehicles had safety fuel cutoff. So we're going to look at some of this other data here. For instance, the brake pedal signal. Let's have a look at that. Let's put that down here. So according to this data list here, for this entire recording, the brake pedal is applied. Well, some of these cars are smart enough to think that if you have your foot on the brake and you're stepping on the gas at the same time, they basically just say, well, no, you're not getting the throttle. So I would look at this data parameter, find out why the brake pedal signal is showing applied all the time. This is throughout this entire recording. Let's see if we've got vehicle speed in here. Vehicle speed. Let's bring that up over here. Well, this recording appears to have been taken sitting still, so this vehicle wasn't moving. I guess this was just done accelerating. But did they actually have their foot on the brake during this whole entire time? Yeah, the vehicle speed didn't move for this whole recording. This is the entire recording. Runtime, let's see how long it was running. So 23 minutes. Wow. Okay, I'm going to take a look at another recording. So here I'm looking at another data list that I received, and in this data list the vehicle is actually moving, maxed out at 13 miles an hour. Total trip was about 19.5 minutes. A couple things I notice here. TPS did reach 65%, and it kind of matched accelerator pedal, but in this data list, when I look at, I see normal oxygen sensor activity on the forward oxygen sensor, but the short-term and long-term fuel trims bother me. Long-term fuel trims at negative 25%. So that typically means that it's either one running rich or thinks it's running rich. In which case, I would lean towards it thinking it's running rich, because if it was actually running rich, it wouldn't lack power. If it was thinking it's running rich, in other words, a skewed O2 sensor, this O2 sensor falsely reporting rich, then taking away 25% of the fuel from the fuel delivery, as you can see in this area here, would result in low power. I didn't notice the brake switch status in this data list. No, there's no brake switch status in this data list. But that does bother me. If it thinks you have your foot on the brake at the same time, I can only assume that somebody had their foot on the brake while they were recording another data list. But for 20 minutes, that seems odd. But again, unplug the forward oxygen sensor to force it into open loop and see how it performs. Because that should, and reset the fuel trims and see how that performs, both of which you should be able to do with the snap-on scan tool that you're using. I'm going to look at a couple more of these data lists. I just noticed something with regards to this engine runtime. The Verus will record right from 0 to however long you want to record, but I think the scan tool that he's using, which I'm not sure he mentioned what it was, this only goes from 19.5 minutes to 22.5 minutes. So this whole recording is only 3 minutes long, not 19 minutes like I thought. Let's view that other one where the brake pedal was applied. 23 minutes. Okay, that makes sense now. 23 minutes at the start of the recording and 23 minutes and 12 seconds at the end of the recording. So, yeah, that makes sense. He could have had his foot on the brake pedal right here all the time that this was being recorded. Well, I continue. So again, in this data list that's been recorded here, this goes from 1637 to 1815, so a couple of minutes of data here. The only thing I see that stands out here is the negative 25% long-term fuel trim and up to negative 17%. Like, I mean, look at this instant right here. We got 11% negative fuel trim and 23% negative. So that's a net effect of 34% fuel reduction. 25 and 7 is 32% fuel reduction. So I would strongly recommend to disable this forward oxygen sensor. Simply unplug it and reset the fuel trims and see how the vehicle performs if it's cutting fuel delivery because it thinks it's running rich. Again, and I'm going to look at a couple more data lists. So this recording goes from 1045 to 1612, so roughly 5 minutes of data. Shows the vehicle attaining a maximum speed of about 14 miles an hour. At one point came to a stop here. Again, the things that stand out here is this negative long-term fuel trim. Here is long-term and negative short-term fuel trims. So at this instant right here, for instance, we're at negative 25 plus negative 9. That's negative 34% fuel trim. I can't think of anything other than maybe possibly a skewed O2 that could do that, but it is possible, I guess, for cam timing to cause this problem. This does have variable cam timing. So I want to look at some potential case histories on this myself. In this recording we have some transmission data. Let's see how long this recording is. So there's no timestamp in this one, so I can't tell. Let's see what the sweep shows. 240 frames, so it's not very long. The one thing that stands out in here is there's no output shaft RPM. Even though we got vehicle speed. Let's zoom this up. Oops, wrong way. Get the entire recording here. Even though we've got vehicle speed that maxes out at 13 miles an hour. Oh, now we got some output shaft RPM. Okay, scratch that. Why don't we have it here? No, it's sitting still, so that's kind of erratic looking. That's kind of erratic looking. Looks like the vehicle speed and output shaft speed are kind of erratic until it's maybe it was inching forward or something. Again, just the fuel trims is the only thing that stands out right now. So here he's got an in-cylinder pressure transducer. It looks like it's synced with, this might be cylinder 2, so it looks like it's synced with number 2 plug, but I'm not sure. So this would be a compression event and this would be a compression event. This doesn't look extremely abnormal. Let's see what another one looks like. That's cylinder 2, part 1, cylinder 2, part 2, cylinder 4. That one looks very similar. Kind of inconclusive. Well, looking at identifics for potential cases, I come across this one for lack of power on acceleration, always smooth, no misfire. And this had a plugged catalytic converter. I'm assuming that they've ruled that out. The easiest thing to do would be to remove the forward oxygen sensor and check exhaust back pressure, or test drive it with the O2 sensor out, being careful not to start a fire from the exhaust coming out of the O2 sensor hole. But nevertheless, I don't think that would create the negative fuel trims, because this has got a mass airflow sensor, so a restricted exhaust would result in restricted air intake, which would result in basically proper fuel delivery, just the engine's not going to breathe. But that's just my opinion, so want to have a look at potential exhaust restriction too on this particular case. I'm going to check another source as well. Well, I had a quick look on the International Automotive Technicians Network for case histories on 2.4s. That engine's used in various GM vehicles, and I really couldn't find anything that matches the symptoms that they're talking about. Lots of hesitations, lots of problems with camshafts, timing chains, VVT solenoids. So I'm going to try and see if I can get some more information from this person, and we're going to focus on what we see wrong right now. That's the fuel trims that seem to be skewed for unknown reasons. Anyways, that's it for now.